Hello, hello, Subat. Thanks a lot for agreeing to do this interview. So I will, for the audience, I will introduce you. This is Subat Zahirovic from Bosnia, and we thank Subat for agreeing to participate in this interview. This interview is part of Anil's work on a special issue of the International Journal of Disability and Social Justice, intended to mark 50 years of independent living in 2022. The topic of this interview and the special issue is independent living in Europe and beyond, past, present, and future. So let us start with a couple of questions. And Suat, feel free, to add something outside of this if you think it's important and useful. Yeah. So the first question is, how did you first learn about independent living, and what was the impact of independent living on your life?
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about independent living. And I hope that I can talk about last 27, 40 years of history of independent living, and even before that, I live independently, but I didn't realize that it's named independent living. So for me, that was interesting when I met people who were pioneer of independent living in Europe and around the globe, like Kalle Konkola, like Gordana Rajkov, like Adolf Ratzka, and that happened 1997, 1998, and 1999, and that was how I met independent living as a philosophy, as a movement. And at that time, I realized that I practice independent living. So for me, that was something like natural. I just continue to live as I lived before I met Kalle, Gordana, Adolf, and also Judith Heumann, and a lot of other pioneers of independent living from US. And I was more aware what it is about, and I introduce the philosophy, introduce the main principles of independent living, and easily that was a new window for me, and that was let's say like a guideline, like vision of future for a lot of other my colleagues in Bosnia and Herzegovina, whom I need to bring a message, to send to send a message about independent living, like a way for us people with disability to live in dignity. I must say to audience that I myself, I am blind from the born, and I live in a remote area, rural area, and almost I was treated like usual child by my mother. She demand from me to do all things I can do, and that was like great impact on my future life and my capability for living independently after, during the school time, during the studying, and after I finished, I get job and continue to function independently as much as possible. And for me, I must say that was a great time, and I was really, really excited and proud to meet all of those great persons who made tremendous effort to promote dignity, to promote rights of us persons with disability to live in a society, to live without discrimination. And that was, and that is, and that will be idea, philosophy, and life for which I am sure we must to struggle, and we struggle, and we also must poison young generation of people with disability to continue our struggle and to open open new possibility for generations of persons with disability which will come.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I already talked about a bit of present and future, but maybe just to, if you stay a bit in the past, if you want to say a couple of things like some big achievements in your advocacy, and maybe some big challenges, that you had, if you feel like.
Yeah, of course. 1997, in a time when I met those great persons I already mentioned, we start in Bosnia one new organization. The name is Information Center for Persons with Disability, LOTOS, and that was first cross-disability organization in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And at that time, main challenge was how to ensure assure sustainability of organization in an environment in which disability movement is organized in association, in organization who are diagnosed blinded and who are really, let's say, traditional and functioning in one restrictive way or charity and medical model based approach to our disability. And we were new activists, new young people with disability who want to promote our rights, our capability in a different way, meaning that taking in consideration that disability is universal issue somehow, and doesn't matter what are medical condition, let's say, and what are what is concrete disability or dysfunction you have, but we challenge the same barriers, the same I don't know attitude of society, and that's something all of us what all of us need to overcome, need to change. And that was like challenge, but also that was success. After few years, rest of disability movement, other organization in Bosnia accept us as an organization whom they really need as a support and as a new way approaching disability issue, because we bring almost all those 25 years we as organization exist in Bosnia, we always bring new issues related to disability. We really early after establishing of organization 1999, we organized big cross disability conference regarding human rights of persons with disability. Then we together with other disabled people organization at that time organized the visit of Bengt Lindqvist, special rapporteur of UN for standard rules on equal opportunity of persons with disability to Bosnia and Herzegovina, talk to authorities and disability movement about importance to include disability in mainstream policies, etc., etc. We also bring to Bosnia and Herzegovina idea of universal design in a way that we promote universal design principles to the design academy, to the architectural faculty, all this stuff. We also start to promote accessibility things. We disseminate a lot of information through public media to society regarding disability issues, etc., etc. We also, at that time, as organization, become a part of general civil society movement in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and that was a way how we, as organization, small organization, I must say, of persons with disability, bring disability issues into the mainstream policies, and that was a real change on which we are as activists, but as organization as well, proud on. And all the time we have challenges which are connected with sustainability, providing resources, because state of Bosnia and Herzegovina unfortunately don't support in a proper way activity of organization of persons with disability, and still we are not recognized as a partners in a process of making decision making or creation laws and policies. But we are struggling for that. Even the Convention on Rights of Persons with Disability is ratified by the state of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Still, the convention is not in a function full implemented, and that is lot of challenges we really facing with. But also I'm aware that all of this I mentioned is a process, and changes happen step by step. It's when I remember when we start a lot of things didn't exist at that time, but now situation is changed, and a lot of other issue is on board, is on agenda, and that also show that progress is made.
Okay, and thank you. And then definitely advocacy changed over the years. I imagine, yeah, you had to adapt also to new situations, no?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
The UNCRPD open new possibilities for the movement, and also fact that Bosnia and Herzegovina is a society in transition, and also we as a society we need to undertake a lot of reforms in a process of accession to the EU. All these things guarantee that changes must happen, And within these changes, there is chance of us people with disability activists to include disability issues in a process of reforms. And I must say that a lot of tools exist, and we can use a lot of international documents, policies, standards, also international bodies are presented in Bosnia and Herzegovina, either UN agencies or European Union delegation, and also possibility to influence national policies through those mechanisms. Bosnia and Herzegovina as a state must respect, I must say, open new windows, and it's a possibility, but also it's a challenge, because we need activists, disabled people capable to use all this opportunity, and that is unfortunately not case, not just in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but I must say, because I talked about quite long period, that the disability movement is going down. There is no too much interest within the population of persons with disability to be active in association, in organizations anymore. I don't know, because privately, individually, maybe they are much more successful than before, but and there is no need to struggle, anymore, because most of people with disability have feel that they can achieve whatever they want. It's maybe easier than in the past, but still there is need of us to be for us to be active in a way to monitor achievements we have, to protect, I don't know, or still to struggle for rights we didn't reach yet, So it's never-ending job, I must say. Advocacy and all this stuff around is never-ending job, and together with the advocating for our rights, for our status in a society, we in Disabled People Organization, we need to work on mobilization, new generation of activists. That's why it's important now to work with young people with disability, to motivate them to be at the same time with their own private jobs, activities, possibilities, to be much more active in organization and spend much more time than they do currently working for promoting rights of persons with disability.
Thank you. I think you already covered a lot for present and future. Maybe just a couple of things to add, like you mentioned also obstacles, and maybe you want to reflect on what is the impact on independent living advocacy of current issues, such as the war in Ukraine, COVID, Euroscepticism, and cost living crisis. I don't know if you want to say something how it is in Bosnia now.
Yeah, those questions, those issues are really important, and we as disabled brothers and sisters must think about our brothers and sisters across the globe. I think that because in Bosnia we have war experience, and still there are memories on war really live. But and as I mentioned, we start our organization 1997, and in the beginning we realized that disability is universal issue, and universal in a way that it's crossing all borders, all barriers, all ideologies, etc., etc. All around the globe, people with disability are poor of the poorest. People with disability are excluded. People with disability are discriminated, and without support, without dignity, etc., etc. There is no chance for lot of brothers and sisters with disability to develop their own potential, to develop their own capacity in a way to be able to be able to change their life by engagement of themselves. So any crisis in a society more than double is affecting persons with disability. I remember, for example, big flood like we have or presently we have in a Pakistan. Imagine how is situation of persons with disability there in such disaster, when in, let's say, normal situation there is no enough support for persons with disability. So any crisis really affect persons with disability in a way that literally life is of person is in danger. So war in Ukraine is really terrible and disaster for all Ukrainian society, but for persons with disability, I think we as a disabled people, we as activists, we as advocates must be much more louder, demanding from the all different factors to take in consideration situation of persons with disability there and provide, let's say, specific kind of help and support for our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. And that's something what we need to do now, to do during the freedom drive, etc., etc. Regarding COVID situation, I must say in Bosnia it was when it was terrible, because during the lockdown there was a problem for persons with disability to provide any kind of support, because all other people also don't have a limited possibility to move around, to access I don't know, different services. And really that was a problem for persons with disability to use basic services they have in a let's say a regular situation. And in the media often they ask me how people feel now. Are they isolated? I said as answer, that's kind of normal situation for most of people with disability, because all the time they are isolated, because they are facing architectural and all other kind of barriers. They don't have enough support services to function, let's say, like any ordinary citizens. And according that, COVID didn't bring anything new, but according all other stuff, that was really a problem. Like, for example, when people with disability go to the hospital, most of personnel didn't know how to approach, how to support, to provide support for them, etc., etc. So that show that we need to make a lot of plans, lot of instructions, and also to work concrete job within the society all the time when disaster not happen, in a way to prepare all different services how to approach to persons with disability when this disaster happens. Hello.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's understandable. Maybe would you also mention, in your opinion, like who are the people or structures who still misunderstand or misrepresent independent living? You can, say for Bosnia. Yeah.
Yeah, I must say that even the 50-year past, most of relevant actors still don't understand the independent living philosophy, either in mainstream institutions, authorities, and also within the disability movement, because still charity and medical approach to our disability issue is main approach to our disability in Bosnia and Herzegovina society, and I have a feeling all across the Europe. So somehow the independent living philosophy and independent living movement is avant-garde of the disability movement. So that show that we really need to invest in and work a lot for a promote of independent living philosophy, but also to raise, to strengthen people with disability to be able to accept and to live independently and struggle for all they need to live independently. And there is no change without us, people with disability, who need to be active and who need to show that it is possible to live independently, that we want to live independently, and that we know how to demand and how to struggle for changes we need and for support or conditions we need to live independently, and which society or authorities are obliged to provide for us and to make accessible to us. Without that, I'm sure that the independent living will be again just exclusive, let's say, possibility for small group of persons with disabilities. And I think that that's something we need to work in a future much more than we are working now on.
Yeah. And what would you say, because now we are, of course, you talked a lot about the future already. What would be what would be the priorities of advocacy for the next 5 years, let's say?
Yeah, I think that I already mentioned,
Yeah.
but UN Convention as a tool is also field of advocacy for the future, because fully implemented UNCRPD is a guarantee of us persons with disability, people with disability, that we will live in a dignity, and that we will be capable to enjoy rights as equal citizens. Also, there is a lot of job to do in concrete changes of laws, policies, either on the state level or regional level or international level. That means that we, people with disability, and our organizations must work on developing our own capacity, personal capacity and organizational capacity to become equal partners within the processes we want to make influence on. That means that we need to develop different kind of expertise to be capable to negotiate, to initiate changes, etc., etc. I think that EU Disability Strategy 2020-2030 is something which gives a lot of opportunity for the disability movement, for changes across Europe. Because finally, I must say, although there is still a lot of bureaucracy within that process, and I think there is also a lot of possibilities, either on EU level but also on the state level, to change approach to our disability issue. At the same time, moving the approach to the human rights based and the social model based approach, and less this medical model approach, which is at the moment, I think, still most active approach to our disability issues in a region, I'm sure, in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Balkan region. That's that's the main challenge, to organize, to initiate advocacy issue which will be based on the human rights approach, not on the medical approach to our disability issue.
Yeah. It's a big issue. Yeah, I think everywhere. Yeah, outside also, on the Balkans. Well, thanks a lot. I don't know if you would like to add anything, and we can conclude, if there is anything you would still add, or we can, finish here.
Yeah, at the end, I would like to say that is really important for us as a movement to use experience from each other and to use opportunity to meet each other in person, not just virtually or via internet, whatever, but in person, because that's also one way how we as a disability movement become much more stronger and get support from each other. For that, I think the Freedom Drive as the biggest EU gathering of persons with disability is something really important. And I must say that I learn a lot participating in a Freedom Drive.
Okay, so we can just you can just continue, just to conclude a couple of things that you wanted to mention. So yeah.
Okay. At the end is really hard to say like final messages or conclusion, but I think that current situation open a lot of opportunities for the disability movement and for the disability activists in advocacy field. That disability need to be part of mainstream policies on the regional, national, and local level. And the UNCRPD and all other, let's say, policy documents give opportunity for us as activists to demand that disability issue need to be involved in the mainstream policies, laws, etc., etc. But at the same time, I think that we disabled people need to be much more together. Together we are stronger, and together we are able to exchange experience among ourselves. I must say that for me, for example, Freedom Drive as one of biggest gathering of people with disability in Europe is something through which I learn a lot. I met a lot of motivated and strong people, fighter for our rights from all over the Europe, and I really would like to call people with disability, if they are able to join us for a Freedom Drive, that they come. It will be for a month at the end of September, but again will come soon. So if there is no possibility this year, next time, it's really important that we become together and raise our voice for our rights and dignity in front of those who are responsible to provide us to enjoy rights we as a citizens have.
Thank you so much, Robert. It was really a pleasure talking to you. And have a good day, and we'll see each other at the Freedom Drive.
Thank you very much for opportunity, and I hope that for those who will listen this interview, it will be inspirative and interesting. And also, I hope that contacts of my contacts will be available. People can find me and
Yes.
Organization Information Center for Persons with Disability Lotos. And if you are interested for cooperation, for whatever exchange information, whatever, please feel free to contact us, and we will be more than happy to provide us the info or answers. We can, if not, we will together try to find what is interesting you or whoever. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye.